So we know from the Zebek's flashback and spoilers for Elbaf, but Shiki was a founding member of the Rocks Pirates. We know too, like in the film Strong World, that the float fruit is canonical as we see him floating throughout the events of the flashback during the various exploits of the Rocks Pirates. So with all that being said, I think Shiki is still around in the present, and he most likely has awakened his float fruit because something really weird happens during the end of the pre-time skip. So we've done a video before about how significant I think Capone Game Beiji is going to be in the future, and how the Fire Tank Pirates most likely are going to join the Straw Hat Grand Fleet sometime in the future, because out of all these Supernova crews except the Straw Hats, they have the most named characters on their crew, and all of those named characters have been significant to the plot in one way or another, and their reputations have then led to other plot points developing, like, say, Lola giving Nami a Vivrecard of Big Mom, which then leads into the events of Whole Cake Island and Nami's dominance over the homies. So, with all that being said, in chapter 594, Capone Game Beiji and his crew are picked up by a mysterious floating object in the sky. But if you could you be my pie in the sky and click that sub button if you are enjoying the video, click that like button if you are enjoying the video, and ring the bell so you never miss a Paula P Works video. And if you could find it, please click that hype button before it flies away. It's very much appreciated. But to continue, I believe this flying vessel or unidentified flying object is a ship of Shiki's. It is his flying ship. And I think with the powers of the float fruit, when it is awakened, it can give objects or the user themselves the properties of a tractor beam, because usually Shiki can only make things float that he has touched, and it can only be objects in that way. He can't touch people and make them float. The only person he can make float is himself. So with his abilities awakened, perhaps he can imbue objects with the ability to attract objects smaller than the initial object, creating a tractor beam like effect on the initial object. So that's how his ship was able to pick up the Fire Tank pirate ship once it flew overhead. At least that's what I think. What makes this so interesting too is that we recently did a video on how it's likely that Absalom of Thriller Bark and Kinemon of Wano are sons of Shiki. You should go check that out. But on the topic of Absalom specifically, we have some very interesting parallels between him and Shiki now in terms of power set, because as you know, Absalom has the clear fruit. Well, in the chapter right after the Fire Tank Pirates get picked up by this weird flying vessel in chapter 595, we see the on-air pirates running on air to escape some wild boars on a mysterious island. I think the reason why they are running on air is because they are running on invisible terrain affected by a previous clear fruit user, the same fruit that Absalom once had. I say had because, as you know, in the present story, Absalom has died, killed by Shiryu of the Blackbeard Pirates. What makes this so interesting is that Blackbeard is the son of Rox D. Zebek, the former captain of Shiki, and now the Blackbeard Pirates are taking residence on Hachinosu, the pirate island, the place in which the Rocks Pirates once called home once upon a time ago, including Shiki. So it's funny now that the clear fruit presumably has been related to the powers of the float fruit presumably in two different situations. We see the possible awakened abilities of the Clear fruit in chapter 595, right after seeing the possible awakened abilities of the Float fruit in chapter 594. So that's pretty interesting within itself that these two examples presumably are right next to one another. And now the new Clear fruit user in Shiryu is on the same island that the Float fruit user Shiki once called home once he was a member of the Rocks Pirates. So I just found all that very interesting. But with that being said, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede. What?